Ooh, okay, it is another hot one. And hopefully I can stick it out through this heat. I'm sure you can hear that. Motorcycle going by. I really need to get mine fixed. Anyways, welcome back to another live stream of 8-Bit Monsters, exposing D&D 5th edition monsters, CR values, and all that jazz. If you're with me now and you'd like to see a particular monster exposed, then go ahead and leave it in the chat box and I'll get to it as soon as I can. If not, we shall take a look at it as soon as possible. And I'll just go off the list that I have. I got a couple updates, like now my mouse has a little highlight cursor that we can see, which is great because, you know, you might have lost it when I was moving around so quickly. And on top of that, there's a new addition here in the monster stats by CR. I've changed some of the wording a little bit to shrink it down so it fits a little better. And on top of that, I've also highlighted color ranges. So now we can see exactly where the attack bonus, damage per round, difficulty check is, and where it ranks for a CR value for the OCR. The blue is for defensives and does the DCR and will shift around. And the green will show us our final values. Towards the bottom of the chart here, I also have a color-coded list that you can see here. Now, there is a dark blue for the final DCR and the final OCR, but because of the way the sheets work, I can't really get overlapping colors properly. So, for the time being, like you'll see in this yellow note here, it's just going to be a little overlapping and a little odd. But I'm going to try and work through that and see if I can find some other kind of a means of coloring these charts here. But for the time being, it's now color-coded, and we can see it faster instead of me having to, you know, do a light shot and capture part of the screen and highlight things here and there. So hopefully between my mouse cursor with a nice little blue button here, or circle, as well as a little red one to show what I've clicked and what I've left, you know, this should be a little better. I've also moved the reset button from the top left section over to the right here. Alright, so there doesn't seem to be anyone looking for anything in particular yet in the chat. So let's take a look at my list here of what I have coming up next week. Now, if you were here for last week's video, or live stream, you would have seen the Vrock broken down as requested by Cornucopia. Well, I have a couple other requests, and the next one is the mean lock. And this is actually really good timing because I'm going to be using the mean lock with the Quickling as well. My second group of characters is going to be working their way to the Feywild, and with what's going on in the campaign, they're going to try and stop the stripping of magic from the Feywild, since the main world, the main material world was losing magic, and now the magic is finally coming back. But that's just my custom campaign. So why don't we go ahead and get the mean lock out from Volo's Guide to Monsters and take a look at it. Alright, let me grab the book here. I need Volo's Guide to Monsters. And as I do, I will split this onto the side here to get a better look at things. Oh, I don't know why that showed up. Oh wait, I do know. Alright. Alright, let's shrink this down a wee bit so we can see what's going on. And the nice thing is because I was able to shrink the tables a little bit, we'll be able to see some of the changes happening right off the fly here. Actually, you might be able to shrink that even more there too. Alright, let's find the mean lock. And the mean lock can be found on page 170. So we will add one. And sure enough, here we go, the mean lock. A fun little small Fey that is neutral evil and has telepathy of its only means of communication. Alright, so as we do, let's jump right into looking at its initial stats, what I like to call the base stats, ignoring speed because we just don't care about speed. And our mean lock has a natural armor of 15 AC. So we'll tap that in, and already we're seeing that our base AC hasn't moved on the side here, but the effective AC, or the effective DCR has shifted already once, because At this level, right off the bat with 4 hit points, we're expecting an AC of 13. So now that we have a 15, we can see that +2 shift, resulting in a +1 shift in the DCR section already, without even looking. Next, we will add in the hit points of 31 average, which comes from... Oh, first, let's swap this to a small Fey, and also put in the fact that we're looking for a DCR2, or a CR2, excuse me. So we'll switch to the hit dice and put in 7d6, and switch that Constitution bonus to a 12. And we don't need Wisdom or Charisma here, because Charisma is for the Fiendish Blessing, and the Wisdom is used for Psychic Defense. I finally found it on my list. It's with the Githzerai Monk. Of course it would be. Alright. Now that we have those 2 items situated, let's take a look at our skills and traits section here. So, our monster, the Meanlock, has skills in Perception, Stealth, and Survival. We don't care about that. It's not going to affect our monster whatsoever. And we don't have any kind of immunities or resistances besides condition immunities, but condition immunities don't matter either. At least as far as I'm aware. And in the book, from what I remember reading, condition immunities don't matter. So we can skip right over that. And then we have 120 feet dark vision and passive perception. Again, doesn't matter. We're going to move on. So now that we have that set, out of the way, let's take a look at the traits down here. And first off, we have Fear Aura. Any beast or humanoid that starts his turn within 10 feet of the Meanlock must succeed on a DC 11 Wisdom saving throw or be frightened until the start of the creature's next turn. Okay, that's pretty handy. We can actually put that in as a Frightful Presence, probably, considering that it's going to happen all the time anyways, and even with dragons, that's always happening every action as well. So there is a little bit of a question here, since with dragons... I don't recall exactly. I think it's an AoE, the dragon thing. I'd have to look that up later, and I don't want to stop now because, you know, I only have so much time I like to allot for these live streams. So let's throw in Frightful Presence, which is going to give us +9 effective hit points because the fear only adds 1.25 times the hit points. And our Meanlock's hit points go from a 31 in the defensive section to an effective hit points of 38 with the addition of Frightful Presence here because of the Fear Aura. Now on top of that, our Meanlock has light sensitivity, so while it's in bright light, it has disadvantage on attack rolls and wisdom perception checks, but that doesn't matter because it quite literally states in the book, in the Dungeon Master's Guide, for light sensitivity, there's no effect. So we can skip over that. Now, the next thing it has is Shadow Teleport. Now, I already attempted to work on the Meanlock just because I wanted to see what this thing would come out rated as, and I have a feeling that this ability here, Shadow Teleport, is going to be the linchpin. We can figure that out later on because it allows the Meanlock to just shift immediately as a bonus action. So because of that whole bonus action thing, this might be similar to the Nimble Escape, and that can be extremely important. With that, let's take a look at the only action that the Meanlock has, which is Claws. And the Claw attack has a +4 to hit, so we will go ahead and swap that to 4. And there's no change in our little table here from at least what we can see. And then it has a 5-foot reach, and one target takes 7 points of slashing damage. So we don't have any kind of a multi-attack here, and we'll just simply put in 7 points of damage. Well, we can see immediately in the chart here, before we even get a chance to look, that our ratings have moved a bit, but haven't quite hit the expected CR of 2 so far. But let's take a look at what the Claw does. And the target must also succeed a DC 11 Constitution saving throw or be paralyzed for 1 minute. Now, paralyzation is an incapacitating feature. The question is, if Constrict from giant constrictor snakes gives a +1 effective AC bonus just for grappling or restraining a target, why wouldn't the Claws paralyzing do the same thing? So just for argument's sake, let's go ahead and throw in the Constrictor bonus here of +1 effective AC. Now, we're not seeing any kind of a shift here, and if we look at our table, we're also not seeing any other shifts as well. And at the moment, we're looking at a challenge rating of 1/2, but as I had mentioned before, I believe this shadow teleport is going to be a really big key factor here because of that ability to just teleport from, dim light and shadows to dim light and shadows. So, luckily the destination doesn't have to be line of sight, so this gives the mean lock a huge amount of versatility for movement and using that bonus action, which it can't do anything else with. So at the moment, we're looking at an OCR of 1/2 and a DCR of 1/4, but our final CR rating is coming out to be a CR 1/2. Now that, like I said again, is before we look at Shadow Teleport, and I really think this is a similar case of Nimble Escape. So if we throw in the Nimble Escape here, we're going to see an immediate jump in our numbers, and the DCR and the OCR end up becoming a 2 both, but that's because it's getting an effective +4 attack bonus and an effective +4 armor class bonus. So, what's going on here? Well, like I always say with Nimble Escape, it gives a huge bump. I mean, +4 attack bonus is already going to give a +1 shift in the CR value because of that that extra 4, because every 2 attack bonus or an armor class that you give something is going to result in a +1 shift of that respective classification. And then if you up it another 2 to 4, that's going to immediately shift the CR by 1. So in most cases, when you shift a combination of 2 attack bonus and 2 armor class, that will end up being a CR shift of 1. And also if you shift, just straight up +4 attack bonus will result in a +1 CR shift, and vice versa with armor class. So my next question is, it's only teleporting and it's not allowing for advantage, but it is throwing it into the shadows. So I think that's what is allowing the monster here to get this CR2 range, or get this CR2 range, because Shadow Teleport with a recharge of 5 to 6, which we might only see once every 3 rounds, could effectively bump this up a little bit, but it really depends on how often we see Shadow Teleport recharge. So it's hard to say whether or not this is actually a CR2 monster or not. I'm going to lean more into probably a CR1 rather than a CR2, because the Shadow Teleport only allows once every 3 rounds. And if that's the case, then our attack bonus would be something more to the kin of, let's do some math here. Round down, let's see here, 4 + 4 + 8, because of the Nimble Escape, right? So the first 2 rounds, we would say it's going to be a normal attack bonus, and then the 3rd round, we're going to up it to +4, and we're going to divide by 3, and we end up with an attack bonus of 5. All right, that's not terrible. Let's get rid of Nimble Escape. It's shifting the monster's OCR to a 1, like I had suggested. All right, well, what about the AC bonus? Well, that's going to shift it from a 16. All right, so let's get rid of Constrict and see if that makes any difference. So we're going to do something similar. We're going to take the round down feature again. So we're going to say round down. 2 rounds of 15 AC plus another round of 19 AC. We're going to divide that by 3, and we're going to end up with an overall average of 16 AC. Well, if the Fear Aura, no, not the Fear Aura, I'm sorry, if the Claws, when they hit, also is also dealing that +1 effective AC bonus, let's put the Constrict back in and see what we get now, since we have an average of 16 AC because of the Shadow Teleport once. Alright, just like I thought. Our effective AC jumps from an average of 16 with Shadow Teleport coming in 1 time, plus the 1 from the Constricting ability of Paralyzing of the Claws. This would up it to a 17, and we're only sitting at a DCR and an OCR of 1. So this mean lock is severely underrated. Well, I wouldn't say severely underrated, but with all that math we had to go through just to figure out what might be going on with our monster here, this is an overrated monster for sure. Not severely, but definitely overrated. So how can we fix that? That's something I'm going to look at later on, and I'll post that in the shorts version of this. Right now, more than likely, I would say just buff up the hit points a little bit, and also maybe give it a second attack. You know what, since we've done that already, let's see what happens if we give it 2 attacks. So the 7 becomes a 15 because of half damages. And then we would up the hit points. Well, you know what? If we up the hit points anymore, we're going to see a major shift here in our chart. I mean, we're already looking at, with 15 damage, an OCR, base OCR of 2, and then a shift to 3 because of the attack bonus difference because of that Shadow Teleport. So with that small shift of Shadow Teleport and giving it the +4 attack bonus that one time because it's able to kind of move around and suddenly strike from nowhere, you know, we're looking at a pretty strong monster already. What could we do? Let's see. Let's add in a couple of variables here. Let's shift up the hit dice to 9 instead of 7. Let's see how much that increases. All right. Well, that's too much. Already giving it 2 more hit dice and going from 31 to 40 average hit points, plus the bonus to fear shifts it up to 50. We're seeing a big jump here to a CR3 monster now. So let's tone it back to 8 and see what happens there. Okay, that's not terrible. We end up still with a DCR of 1 and an OCR of 3. So let's take a look at this. We have an average of 45 hit points, which we can see right off the bat that our hit points for 45 puts us into the CR 1/4 range. And then because of the 17 AC, that's a +4 bonus, shifting it from 1/4 up to 1. Plus the OCR, that is a 2 base plus the 1 shift to an OCR 3. So we have our 1 plus our 3, which equals a 4, and then averaged out we get a CR2 mean lock. So here's our quick fix. Give it a multi-attack of 2, and maybe 1 more hit die. And we have a CR2 mean lock. If I have time, maybe I will throw together a PDF correcting this mean lock and giving it the actual rating, because otherwise this is either a CR 1/2 or a 1. Really depends on how you feel about the shadow teleport ability. All right, let's see here. Let me take some notes. Take a moment here and adjust that. So we're gonna go to my chart here for 2. Go to the mean lock, which is right here. So we are looking at that. It was found to be, I'm going to go with the DCR 1, and it was overrated. And the quick fix, multi-attack 2, plus 0 or 1 hit die. And that's it. And now we have a CR2 mean lock. There's probably some consideration for the stealth. So you could, in effect, Shadow Teleport to a dark area and then go into a stealth and getting advantage for the attack, but you know, that's really only going to be maybe a +1 bonus to the attack bonus, and not really modifying anything from there. All right, now that we have the mean lock out of the way, let's see what is next for our monsters. Okay, next would be the Grimishka from Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. This was another requested one from, I believe, someone on TikTok. So I'm going to grab that book and let's take a look at that one. Now, this book, what am I doing here? This was a rip of some stuff, so it's not going to look the best. Where is it? Oh, there it is. I was going to say, what happened here? Okay. Is it going to load? Alright, it's not loading either. Alright, we'll skip over the Grimishka. Probably for the best. And let's take a look at the Cadaver Collector from Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Hopefully that book will load up. I mean, it should. It loaded up last time. Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. What do we got here? Oh, I wonder if it's too small. That's really strange. I seem to be having technical difficulties with these silly PDFs. Huh. Alright, while we wait, I'm going to throw this into a be right back sort of thing and wait for this to catch up, and hopefully I can get these going here. Why is this not coming up? Okay, I have it sorted out. Looks like there was something wrong with the Edge. I know, I'm using Edge. I never thought I'd be using a Microsoft browser to do these sorts of things, but what do you know, I actually am. So I had to open up Chrome, and so far so good. Let's, no, I don't want that. That was the wrong item. This is what I want. Okay. Alright, now that I have that set up, let's look for the Cadaver Collector. Cadaver Collector is on 122, so let's go for 123. And there we go, Cadaver Collector. I'm pretty sure this is the monster I've been listening to with the Dungeon Dudes, Drakenheim thing with their guard in the center of town there. That was a pretty interesting fight so far to listen to. Alright. Let's come on over to our little machine here. I don't want to call it little. Come to my tool here. Let's switch back to my tool and start breaking down the Cadaver Collector and see what we get. So first off, as always, we're going to start with the base items of 17 AC. And it's a large construct with 18 D10 plus 20 Constitution, resulting in 90 hit points. Nice. Okay, bunch of stats here. Now, for the skills and traits. First off, we have damage immunities. And it's immune to necrotic, poison, psychic, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks that aren't adamantine. It's very rare to see that. I mean, not a lot of monsters specifically say adamantine. So, this is a pretty beefy one so far. Now, right off the bat, it's saying 2 times the hit points, and we're seeing a massive jump here for what's expected to be a CR0. And this is why this is important, because 189 hit points for a CR0 is absurd. Oh! Hey, Cornucopia, how you doing? Yeah, I had a request for this, and I had a little issues getting the PDF up, but now it's up and going. So let's swap the challenge rating to 14 and see how it shifts the items around. Cool. So we have 1.5 times the hit points for our Cadaver Collector, and we will then look at the condition immunities, which, again, doesn't really matter for the purposes of calculating the CR. Other than that, it has senses of dark vision, languages, and its CR rating of 14. So next we will go into the trait section, and it has magic resistance, which is always fun. We'll just come down here and click on that for +2 effective AC bonus, moving it from the 17 to the 19. And then let's see what this other item is, the Summon Spectres. Recharges after a short or long rest, so we get one use of it. And as a bonus action, the Cadaver Collector calls upon the enslaved spirits of those it has slain. 1d6 specters, or we could say 3 on average, without sunlight sensitivity, arise in unoccupied spaces within 15 feet of the Cadaver Collector. These specters act right after the Collector on the same initiative and count and fight until... Same initiative count and fight until they're destroyed. They disappear when the Cadaver Collector is destroyed. Alright, so the question is, do the specters add their damage to the Cadaver Collector? Initially, I'm going to say no, probably not. But if the CR doesn't work out in its favor, then we might have to say, okay, these specters are adding in, because once the, let's see here, once the Collector is destroyed, then the specters go away as well. So for the time being, we're going to skip over that. Let's take a look at the multi-attack, slam, and paralyzing breath that it has. So we're going to have our multi-attack here, the slam here, and paralyzing breath. We'll just do para breath. There we go. Our slam does a total of 13.5 bludgeoning. Excuse me, 18.5 plus an additional 16.5 necrotic damage for a grand total of 35. And we can multi-attack that 2 times. So that's nice and quick. So we're looking at 70 points of damage per round from our Cadaver Collector right off the bat without the specters adding in their damage. And then also we have the paralyzing breath, which we get once every 3 rounds in theory. In a 30-foot cone, each character that must succeed a Constitution save or be paralyzed, and repeats the saving throw at the end of its turns, ending the effects on itself with a success. Like I was suggesting before with the mean lock, this might be worth 1 effective AC, but because it takes an action to do it and there's no damage, I'm not going to count that in just yet. I mean, right off the bat, we're looking at a DCR of 15 already. So prospects are high that this is just really based off of the slam damage that it does. So let's take a look at the 2-hit bonus of +10. Throw that in, and then we will add in the multi-attack damage and see what we get. Well, sure enough, if you look over here at our table, we have a challenge rating of 14. We have an OCR of 12 plus the DCR 15, which would equal, is that 27? Averaged out, that's 13.5. Rounding up, we have a CR 14. And with my updated chart cornucopia, as you missed in my intro, maybe you saw it before, but now that you're here, I've updated this whole chart to show the changes immediately. So the base of 70 damage from our Cadaver Collector is a CR 11, and it's being modified only by a little bit because it's expecting the attack bonus of 8, and the Collector has an attack bonus of 10. That's going to be a +1 bump, and that moves it up to a 12. Now, in case of the average hit points, which is 283 and an effective AC of 19, we're looking at the 283 here. It's expecting an 18 and it has a 19. That's only a 1 change, so our numbers don't actually move from the 15. And then we just, you know, do the multiplicate or the quick math of the 15 and 12 like I did before. Thank you. Yeah, I spent a good couple hours literally just going through each of these and doing conditional statements. It's a good thing I enjoy programming. And because of that rounding up rule and half numbers on our CR values, this Cadaver Collector technically is a 13.5, a CR 13.5, but it works out to be a CR 14 without factoring in the specters from its Summon Spectre ability, which you can do as a bonus action once per combat, or, well, once per short or long rest. So, yeah, we have a CR 14. It's a bit of a stretch in the range here, but it does work. It's correct. So I'm going to update my notes for this. It's supposed to be a 14. And let's see here. Oh, that's what I forgot to do. I was going to... I didn't have time to do it. I just hit 1,000 followers on TikTok. And I was going to try and set up my phone so I could broadcast my monitor while I'm doing this, but I just totally forgot about it. Let's see here. So, summon specters. Do not add damage to collector. Good to know. All right, Cornucopia, do you have any recommendations or requests while you're here? Before I move on to the Ultraloth. Let's see here. Oh, what do we got here? Books. Monster manual. What are you hiding? Not right now, but I might think of one later. Okay, cool. All right, let me pull up the monster manual, which I always lose track of it. There we go. And we are looking for the Ultraloth, which I've never heard of before. Ultraloth? I'm sure I have it labeled incorrectly. Or named incorrectly. Let's go down to the bottom here. One second while I look this up. Yeah, it's the Ultroloth. Ultraloth. Alright. Let's see here. Let's zoom in a bit. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, there it is. Page 314. So we'll go to 315. Oops. And sure enough, here we go. Oh, neat. Okay. Someone had colored in the quick sketch drawing here of this Ultraloth, which is another Yugoloth, similar to the other one I did last time. Drawing a blank suddenly. It's right here. No, it's not right here. Crud. The Mesoloth. Yeah, there we go. The Mesoloth. I can't breathe. Okay. Oh, look. Mesoloth. Ultraloth. Okay, I'm getting... Thank you, Cornucopia. Yes, the Mesoloth. I'm getting a theme here, similar to like the Hungry and the Sorrow and all them. I see what they're doing here. Oh, and we have spellcasting too. Alright, so we might need my spellcasting item as well. Alright, let's get rid of all that. Ultraloth. Let's zoom in just a little bit more. Too much. Alright. Our Ultraloth has an armor class of 19. It is a medium fiend, which we can leave alone, with 18 d8 and 18 constitution, and just for the heck of it, 15 wisdom and 19 charisma. This should be a CR 13. And let's move down into some of the other stuff we got here. Alright, it's got some skills. Don't care about the skills. It's got some damage resistances, which is cold, fire, lightning, plus all the typical non-magical attacks. So we will go ahead and throw in resistance, resulting in 1.25 times the hit points. And that's always fun if you can see on the side here how it immediately shifts. No, come on. Get out of there. And you get that immediate bump in movement, which is so much fun. Alright, and then we don't worry about the damage immunities because there's only 2. Unless it doesn't meet the CR 13, then I won't worry about immunities. And now we have innate spellcasting. So, what do we have for spellcasting? We have Alter Self, Clairvoyance, Darkness, Detect Magic, Detect Thoughts, Dispel Magic, Invisibility, Self only, so more than likely that's going to be our item here. Suggestion, Dimension Door, Fear, Wall of Fire, which, okay, we've got two pretty heavy hitting spells, so let's make a copy. And this is the Ultraloth. Cornucopia said, actually, speaking of Yugoloths, I've been interested in seeing how the Arcanaloth measures up. So if you could do that next, that'd be pretty cool. They're in the monster manual. Thank you. I will do that after the Ultraloth, since we're partway through here. Arcanoloth. There we go. Alright, and it's in the monster manual. Cool. And I'm missing a letter. Alright, let's see here. Back to the damage tracker for Arcanoloth. Let's get rid of all this here. So we have two damaging spells we need to take into consideration. We have Wall of Fire and Firestorm. Now, more than likely, Wall of Fire is going to be the more important one to take into consideration because it's going to be concentration and doing a lot of damage. And let's see here. The Ultraloth can innately cast these, so it's going to be at base spell level. It doesn't get to bump it up, but has a DC 17. So let's see here. Wall of Fire. Wall of Fire is dealing... let's see here, 5d8 points of damage, and that's a level 4 spell, so it's going to be d8 is 4.5 times 4 dice times, oh I'm sorry, 5 dice times 2 people minimum for calculations. And then on top of that, the Firestorm, how much is that doing? Firestorm is doing 7d10 points of damage and is instantaneous. Okay. That is a 7th level spell. And that is, let's see here. So it's 5.5 for the average times 7 times 2. So we're looking at 77 points of damage, and it can be cast once. Once per day, and this will be cast 3 times per day. And let's get rid of that information there. Clear that stuff out because we don't need any of that. And then we'll also throw in the spells per day marker. Let's also take a look at the actions it can do with multi-attack, longsword, and hypnotic gaze. Alright, let's see here. Multi-attack, which is going to be 3. Oh wow, okay, so it can use hypnotic gaze and make 3 attacks. So we're going to say this space right here, E2, because that's going to be where I put in the longsword damage, times 3. Currently it's 0. Let's see, get back to the live stream. Alright, so we got longsword, and that is going to be a total of probably 8.5 points of damage, because I doubt, yeah, it doesn't have a shield, so we can swing the longsword two-handed if it wants. So we got 8.5 points of damage for our longsword, resulting in 25.5 multi-attack damage. Now, what does our hypnotic gaze do? More than likely, it's going to... Okay, so it's going to charm creatures, which, again, could be considered an effective 1 AC, so we could throw that in. The teleport, I'm not too technically worried about, since it takes an action to do so. That one may not come into effect. So, for the purposes of hypnotic gaze, we could suggest a little later on that that might be worth a shot. But, anyways, let's see about some of these other things here. So, how would we look at putting in the damage here for the Ultraloth? Well, I always go for whatever's going to cause the most damage first. And the first thing would be setting up Wall of Fire as its action. So since Wall of Fire is considerably more damage than its 3 multi-attack, I would suggest, first things first, put up a Wall of Fire. So we can put in the Wall of Fire, which will be 45 damage here. I like to do this instead. And then it's going to be extra damage per turn because, you know, in theory, it would be set up in a way that players are still having to deal with this for the first couple rounds of damage. First couple rounds. Next, I would then say, let's do a firestorm. If the players aren't resistant to fire, and the Ultra Lolth probably wouldn't know that at first, unless it's using its telepathy, which it does have 120 feet of, so maybe it can read the players' minds. We would say, all right, let's use that one use of firestorm rather than mass suggestion, unless mass suggestion is needed. We would have a total of 77 damage here, and already we're looking at 122 points of damage, possibly on round 2 of combat, resulting in an average of 70. And then lastly, we could, you know, the irony here is setting up another wall of fire, unless we need the hypnotic gaze. But because the multi-attack damage is so low, I would say let's go for another wall of fire and just reset that somewhere, especially if the players have moved around. So we're looking at an average of 85 damage here versus the DC of 17. So let's use that for our monster's damage here. We're going to use saves, and we're going to switch that to DC 17. And then we're looking at, what was it, a total of 85 points of average damage. Oh, and concentrating on wall of fire. Sure. Forgot to put that in. So we have 85 points of average damage, and we are jumping up to a CR 12. All right, so our OCR is a 13, our DCR is a 10, and we have a final challenge rating of 12. So far, our Mesoloth is underrated. Oh, it's not. I forgot about magic resistance and the magic weapon. This is why I should do these things in order like I always do. So now that I've remembered about the magic resistance, let's tick that box and see it jump up. Magic resistance. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Still not there. I thought it worked out to be the 13. All right, we're not there yet. So what's going on? What else could we be doing? Well, we do have the at will for invisibility, and I would suggest that this is another possibility here. Because it's at will and we can do invis all the time, and technically as far as I'm concerned, using invisibility just delays combat. I'm going to say invisibility is allowed. And this is usually how I always take it. Hey, Vanderi, how you doing? Thanks for joining. We are looking at the Ultra Lolth, and then Cornucopia had suggested the Arcana Lolth next. Yes, classic magic resistance. All right, let's throw in superior invisibility because it has it as an at-will ability and it delays combat. Where are we at now? Well, now we're at the CR 13. Took a little bit to get there and took a little bit to find, but provided that the Ultra Lolth is using all of its magic rather than using its actions and making sure to cast invisibility and let the players burn with the walls of fire, we have a CR 13 Ultra Lolth. This Yugoloth is evenly rated, but it is going to require using invisibility and Firestorm as well as the Wall of Fire. All right, take a quick note of that, and we'll move on to the Arcana Lolth. Banderi, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a little while. Good to see you're here for the live stream. So we had, what was that? 12, 13, found a 13, even, and must use Firestorm, Wall of Fire, and Invis. Alright. There's my note. There is the Ultra Lolth. Time to find the Arcana Lolth. Oh, that's great you had time to stop by. I know how it means to be busy. Normally I was trying to do my live streams on Sundays, but Sundays have just gotten too busy for me as well, so that's great. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Alright, where is the... Oh yeah, it was in the monster manual. I don't know the CR, but... like Nikoloth? Interesting. So let's see if... There it is. That was easy enough to find. And it's basically puffs of air, it looks like. So we have our Arcanoloth, and it's a CR12. Fascinating. Oh, what do you know? Look at it right there. Okay. Alright, let me just make some adjustments real quick. And then I'll get to looking at the Arcanoloth. Alright, reset. Shift everything up. Oh, and Vanderi, the last time you saw my tool here, it has made some updates. And especially in the chart here, you're going to see immediate immediate shifts through the whole chart, which is really helpful to look at to make sure that things are properly calculating. So I spent a good couple hours working on that, and really happy with how it looks and how it turned out. I'm also looking at trying to put in spots for, you know, the rounds of combat and damage and whatnot, as I am prone to do up here in this little top spot. So that might be the next update. But I really need to go through and check the logic out to see what's going on there. Alright, Arcanoloth. Medium Fiend, which is also Yugoloth, with an AC of 17. So let's throw that in here. And so as we can see, the typical shifts. Oh, you know what? Vanderi, the Mind Flayer actually came up. Oh, Mind Flayer Arcanist. I don't have that one on the list. If I have time, I will certainly do that. So let me throw that in, because I do have the regular Mind Flayer here. But I will throw the Arcanist up. It's only a CR1 jump over from standard Mind Flayer, but I feel like it's vastly more powerful with its crowd controlling spells. You know, I would think so too, but the crowd controlling spells generally don't seem to make a difference, at least from the CR standpoint. But let's take a look, if I have time, and see what happens. Do you happen to know what book that's from? It would just save me a bunch of time. Alright, so we got a shift already from the higher AC, but that doesn't really make much of a difference right now because I haven't put in the hit points for the Arcanoloth, which is 104 coming from 16 D8 and 14 Constitution with 16 Wisdom and 17 Charisma, which probably doesn't matter. And it's a CR12. Oh, cool. Thank you. Monster Manual. Perfect. I will just put that, make a note there. All right. Back to the Arcanoloth. All right. We have some saving throws for Arcanoloth as we get into the skills and traits section. Oh no. So much spells. So many spells. I don't know if we're going to have time for the Mind Flayer Arcanist this time. All right. Saving throws. We have 4. Dex, Intellect, Wisdom, and Charisma. Man, that's a lot. Okay. So we're getting a +2 shift, which is pushing our DCR up to a 6. And we also have skills, which we don't care about, and damage resistance. Vanderi, the Arcanoloth is brutal. Yeah, I'm seeing that already. Not much in the way of damage here, but the spell casting looks like it's going to be a pain to figure out. Alright, let's see here. So we have damage resistance, which I'm going to throw in here, giving it 1.25 times the hit points, and also damage immunities, which we don't care about because there's only 2 traits. Alright, so the trait section, we have innate spellcasting, magic resistance, magic weapons, which doesn't matter, and spellcasting. So, before I forget it, like I did last time, let's take a look at the magic resistance and go ahead and throw that in. And that is right here. So that's going to shift it up to a DCR of 7 already. And that's it so far. So let's come over to the Ultraloth. Oh, it's supposed to be Ultraloth. And we'll make a copy of that. So I can make the Arcanoloth. Arcanoloth, not Loth. That's a spider demon, or spider god. Alright, what do we have for spells here? Because there's going to be a lot of them. Alright, spells. Innate spellcasting. We have Alter Self, Darkness, Heat Metal, which could be useful. Invisibility, Self only and magic missile. Alright. Heat. Heat metal and magic missile. Let's see here. So for... Oh, let's see here. Vandari says, Alter Self plus Mind Blank. Can't tell what it is. Surprise, hold monster plus Chain Lightning. At least one person. Immediate dex save fail with full damage Chain Lightning. Oh yeah, definitely. That sounds like it's going to be pretty nasty. Pretty good nasty combination there. And then Cornucopia said, looks like they're called Arcana Loth for a reason. That's a lot of spells. Yeah, no kidding. Sounds either really tough to keep track of while DMing or really fun. Or both, probably both. Yes, I'm going with both, Cornucopia. Definitely both. Alright, so what do we have here for heat metal for the spell damage? Heat metal is dealing 2d8 fire damage at 2nd level. So that's not a whole lot of damage, but could be worthwhile if you run out of spells to use. So 4.5 times 2, not a whole lot going on there. And magic missile is only, it's only going to be the 3, so it's going to be, because it's an innate spell, we can't upcast it, so it's only 2.5 times 3 plus 3 for a total of 10.5 average damage. Alright, next we're looking at all the rest of the spells. So we have Firebolt. Let's see here. Firebolt. And we're going to just get rid of all those. Mage Hand, Minor Illusion, Prestidigitation. Don't really care about that. Then first levels, Detect Magic. Identify Shield. Oh, that's going to be the important one. Shield, right there. Well, it's not concentration, but it is a bonus act. It's a reaction for +5 AC. So right off the bat for shield, I'm gonna add that into the monster calculations. And because I don't have a spot for shield, which I really need to add that in here, I'm just gonna add in the +5 AC to its base AC, bumping it up to 22. All right, back to this. What else do we have after shield? Tensor's Floating Disc. Detect Thoughts, Mirror Image, Phantasmal Force, and Suggestion. I think Phantasmal Force does damage? I don't recall. Phantasmal Force can deal some damage, but probably not worth it to add it in. Let's see here. Sacrifice Finger of Death to do a 7th level hold person to hold 3 people. And just max out the Chain Lightning. Looks like you have some experience with the Arcana Loth. That's... Yeah, oof. But I have a pretty high level wizard in the game I play, and so I always played around with spell combos. Mind Blank is criminally underrated for stealth. That is for sure. Mind Blank is a handy spell. But, yeah, that sounds like some fun. You got some fun combinations there, Vandari. Jeez. Alright, back to trying to figure out these spells. I'm going to skip over Phantasmal Force because I'm sure that doesn't really do much. And we have the good old classic Fireball. Which is, what is that? Level 3 spell, right? Fireball 4. 8d6 at level 3. Cool. So we're looking at, equals 3.5 times 8 times 2 people. Oh, shoot. I like to do this and use that target number there. So we have for 56, and we can go all the way up to spell level 8. Whoops. Let's fix that. So because of that, we can get up as high as 91 points of damage on the Fireball. Yes, thank you, Cornucopia. That's what I was thinking too. Not worth bothering to put it in here. What else do we have? Fireball. Then we have Banishment, Dimension Door, Contact Other Plane, Hold Monster, Chain Lightning. Alright, so we want Chain Lightning in there for sure. because that's going to do some damage. And let's see how much that does. I know Chain Lightning can be a little weird because it jumps 3 times. It can jump up to like 2 or 3 times, but we're only considering 2 jumps because that's usually how AoE spells work. And I always consider Chain of Lightning an AoE spell. All right, so that's going to be 10d8. So let's see here. And we can not upcast that for damage, but it can be upcast for more jumps. So we're not really worried about that per se. We're just looking at the damage, and that's a 6th level spell. So that would be, what was that? 4.5 times 10 times 2. So we have 90 for that. Finger of Death. Ooh, fun. Let's see here. Finger of Death. Let me guess. It's just insta-kill? Looking at Finger of Death. You spend negative energy causing a creature that you can see within range, causing it searing pain. They make a constitution check, taking 7d8 plus 30 necrotic damage as a 7th level spell. Alright, so this is just a flat number here of 4.5 times 7 plus 30. Alright. I think that's the majority of the spells besides Mind Blank, which is helpful, but not necessarily important, I don't think. Let's see, let me get caught up on chat. Phantasmal Force is crowd control. It's an int saved. Okay. And they still think it's real. It jumps from the first target to 3 other targets. Finger of Death is like disintegrate. It's good because it's minimum. It does 37 necrotic damage. Yes. On average, it's going to do 61, as we found, but yes, at minimum, it's a lot of damage. 37, as you said, Vandari, which is excellent. All right. And then it's Claw Attack. So let me see here. How many spell slots do we have? We have one. One. Oh, come on. 1. For all of these, 2, 3s, and 4s. All right, so we also have the Claw action, which does, let's see here, 8 points of slashing damage, plus 10.5 poison damage. So that's negligible. We're not really going to worry about that. So the big thing is going to be, more than likely, Mind Blank is going to be cast right off the bat. Well, it doesn't actually say it. Usually, like with the arcane, that CR12 arcane humanoid from the back of the book, it says that Mind Blank would be open. So in theory, round 1 we could do a spell level 8 fireball just for the fun of it. Let's do that. Bye Mind Blank, but hey, 91 points of damage or more is going to be fun. It lasts 24 hours, so honestly, most spellcasters just use it when they wake up. Oh, so yeah, then technically, yeah, thank you. It would have had it already cast. So in theory, it probably would have had it done before it went to sleep, and then had it set up beforehand. So we could use the 8th level spell slot for Fireball just for the fun of it. After that, I would say the next spell we would use is Chain Lightning, because we have 1 spot of that open for 90 points of damage. So we would use Chain Lightning next after a level 8 Fireball, then a level 6 Chain Lightning, and then a level 7 Fireball for a total of 88 damage. This seems like it would do a lot more damage, to be honest. Well, let's see what we have here in our calculation. So we have an average of 88 points of damage, and I'm probably off because I need a little bit more time to work with spellcasters. But it does have a DC of 17, which could be a huge factor here. And no, we actually have our CR12 Arcanoloth. There it is, right here. So we're seeing an OCR 14, which is pretty high, even though we only have 88 points of damage. And we have a slightly lower spread with the DCR of a DCR 10. And we're seeing here in the charts that our 88 DPR is hitting this range of a 14, And there's no shift because the difficulty check that it has innately is a 17, and it's expecting an 18. So that's because it's only a 1 difference. We're not shifting the 14 at all, which is great. So the OCR is 14, but we have a huge jump in the DCR. And this is why AC is king when it comes to things. Like, hit points are great, but having a lot more AC is gigantic. I mean, look at this. Because of shield and that +5 bonus as a reaction, and where is shield again? It's a level 1 spot, so we can do this a load of times. We're looking at an average of, what was it? 130 effective hit points, bringing us on the high end of an OCR 4, which expects an AC of 14. But because our Arcanoloth has an effective AC of 26 because of all of its extras, 26 and 14, that's over by 12. And then when we average that out, we're looking at a +6 jump. Oh man. So we go from a CR4 all the way up to a CR6 because of shield, the magic resistance, and probably the immunities. Yeah, the immunities are helping out, but the shield is the major king here. All right, so let's see here. What is Cornucopia saying? I didn't expect it to be on point. That's a pleasant surprise. Yes, it is a pleasant surprise, but you gotta use shield every time you get that Arcanoloth is getting hit. Provided that it can prevent the damage, use that shield up and use it all the time. Let's see here. And then Vandari said, I'd just be careful because the Arcanoloth also has counter spells, so it would also want to keep reactions open. True. Really depends, and it is important to know like what's going on in the context of battle. So yes, we would want to have the counter spell open, which is at 3rd level here, but we would also want to have the shield available to protect. So it really depends on what's going on at the heat of battle. And I didn't even put in the invisibility, so just for the heck of it, before we finish up here, let's throw in the superior invisibility because it can do invisibility at will. All right, it bumps up. So we get another shift from the AC, the effective AC of being 26 to 28, and our new CR goes up to 13. So provided we're not using invisibility pretty much at all, we have a CR 12. Yeah. Definitely. Teleport and Invis, as you said there, Vandari. These are pretty nasty combinations here. So it looks like to keep it at a CR 12, you can go crazy with the damage, teleporting it around and whatnot, but provided you go invisibility and use the invisibility to... Hold on. I live next to a drag strip, unfortunately. I'm sure you heard that motorcycle go tearing by my house. Yeah, so provided we don't use invisibility and just use shield majority of the time and counterspell as needed, this is the CR12 Arcanoloth. This is pretty good. Alright, let's see here. Let me take a look at the Mind Flayer Arcanist and see if I can potentially fit that in, because we're at 7 o'clock. And I usually like to wrap things up here, but I'm interested to see what this looks like. So we have Mind Flayer. Our Mind Flayer. Whoops. Oh, the variant. Mind Flayer Arcanist variant. Okay. Wow. That just jumped right there. How did that do that? Alright, so the Arcanist has spell casting. Alright. Interesting. Alright, I definitely don't have time to get into it because, as you saw with the Arcanoloth, that took a lot of time to get through all those spells. But just from looking at things, because the Mind Flayer is on my list to tackle... Let's see here. I do have the Mind Flayer here, so it is going to probably show up not in the next week, but in 2 weeks, the Mind Flayer will be coming up, because I have a couple others before it. So, let's see here. Vandari says, Wall of Force and Mind Blast is the combo that is nasty. I'm sure it is. More than likely, it's probably going to be terrible. Mind Blast once every 3 rounds. And then I'd have to look at that. I will definitely take a look at that and see how that looks, Vanderi, because I'm sure this is a fantastic combination and something to really throw players off with. But I'm curious to see. Yeah, it's saying it's a CR8. Okay. Oh, here we go again. Yikes. Ugh. I ride a motorcycle, and that stuff annoys me. All right, Cornucopia said counterspell whenever the party tries to heal to make sure your players have a fun session. Yes, definitely counterspell heals. That really throws the players off. Oh man, counterspelling healing, that's the best. Being somewhat of a sadistic DM, I definitely don't try to kill my players, but man, that stuff is funny. Alright, so I'm going to make it a point to look at the Mind Flayer Arcanist at some point, but I can't get into it now because it's just going to take too long with all these spells. But this has been fun. I appreciate and thankful for everyone that showed up. Thank you for swinging by. Vanderi, I'm definitely going to take a look at that monster and see your combination that you were talking about and see how that works out and how gnarly that can be. Let's see here. Vanderi says, enjoy your evening. Thanks for putting the Arcanist on the docket. Hey, Vanderi, you're welcome. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. It's always great having people, especially Cornucopia. Thanks for stopping by again. That's like what is that? Like they do on Twitch, you know, when you show up repeatedly. You're on a hot streak here, Cornucopia. All right. Yes, it's on the docket, and I will definitely take a look at it. Probably it's going to be a little higher than a CR8. I'm going to guess, especially if you're using all those spells up for the Arcanist Mind Flayer. All right, everyone. Thanks for showing up, and we took a look at only a couple monsters this time, but good ones nonetheless, and they were interesting and fun to take a look at. So until next time, thanks for swinging by, and I hope to see you in the next live stream.